Welcome to Elite Broker, the podcast showcasing the leading players and stories of success from Australia's broking industry.
Hello and welcome back to Elite Broker. I'm your host for today, Annie Kane. And in this week's episode, we're talking to a Queensland-based broker who's been helping property investors build their property investment portfolios and navigate the world of complex finance up in South Brisbane. Mortgage choice broker South Brisbane, Daniel Liao, or Dan, has been working in this industry since moving over from the banking industry. He's a banker to broker. We love telling these stories about how people have made the shift over, the types of loans they're seeing, and what they're doing to build their business for success. Thanks for joining me, Dan. How are you going?
I'm really good, Annie. Thanks for having me.
We appreciate you coming all the way down to Sydney to record the podcast with us today and brave the chilly rain as well, because I'm sure you've left the sunshine of Queensland to come down here. For anyone who's not had the pleasure of meeting you before, Dan, can you give us a bit of a rundown as to why you became a broker in the first place? Because you were in banking and then made the jump over. What was the trigger becoming a broker?
Yeah. I spent a decade in corporate banking, and majority of that time was actually spent in one specific bank. Just like most bankers, we always believe that the grass is greener on the other side, because you always hear about policy being so much more different and how easy it is to get an application through for a client. I found that not to be true. So I jumped to another bank, and I found that if I truly wanted to create an impact for the people that I wish to serve, I have to find a position or sit in a place or have a vehicle in which I can do that. And brokering was the natural transition.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting that you were in finance to begin with in the first place, because I looked at did some LinkedIn stalking before we came online and saw that you actually studied accounting. Did you ever think about becoming an accountant?
I did. Yeah. I still sometimes think about it. Yeah. The one thing that I really enjoy though is I like the pace and the speed of brokering, the amount of people you can meet and the speed that you can actually try and solve problems with.
Yeah,
I really like that.
Yeah. So you were at BOQ for a long time before making the move over to a major bank and then becoming a broker. When you made the move from non-major to major, was it weird seeing like how another bank kind of does stuff?
Oh yeah, super weird. So like the one thing I really love about BOQ was, because it was a smaller bank, you were essentially there to do many facets of the business, right? So in other words, if I did home lending, I also did credit cards, I also did personal lending, and I also did business lending and equipment finance. So I thought that was completely normal. When I went to the bigger bank, I found that you were essentially told to just do this. If it was anything else, you do not need to know about it. You don't need to learn about it. That's the one thing I really didn't like, because I love to be able to provide a proper strategy or a proper solution for a client, especially self-employed. You need to know the many different facets of what lending can provide.
Yeah. So when you decided to make the move and help more people and have more options for lending as well at your disposal, you decided to become a broker. The first big question obviously is, which route do I go down? How do I choose what model I'm going to do and what aggregator to go with? Did you ever consider joining a big franchise? Did you ever consider going independent? Or were you just like, I know this person in this aggregator and I'm going to join them? Like, how did you make your decision of what kind of broker you're going to be?
I really enjoy serving people. I'm a very straight thinker. When I make a decision, I move very quickly, okay? And I also believe in the universe. Where you're meant to be is exactly where you're supposed to be, and things happen for a specific reason, right? So with those two in mind, at the time, something in my gut was saying to me, maybe we need to look at doing something else. Because I mentioned before, you don't actually have more solutions. The policies aren't better with each different bank, like one or two banks, right? I needed a vehicle in which I needed to find and to, naturally transition over into being a broker. When I had that thought, I received a call from someone now that is the national manager at Mortgage Choice, which I haven't spoken to in a very, very long time. And he called me out of nowhere and said, "Hey, Dan, how have you been? Would you like to have a coffee?" When I sat down with him, that was pretty much the end of the story. I just decided that I would progress forward from here because it was a thought in my mind, a feeling in my gut, and the action, it just came.
Yeah.
Right. And the really good, obviously I did some more thinking. I didn't just go, oh my God, like, yes.
The
let's
signs
just do
are all
that.
there.
Yes. I didn't, yeah.
Crystal ball it.
Exactly. Yes. A crystal ball. Yeah. I'm not very good at doing a lot of things, and I'm okay with that. And those things, what I mean is, the back end IT stuff, the marketing, the this, the that. What I really like to do is eliminate the things I don't like to do in my life, provide them and find a solution for that. So in other words, have a team that's able to do that. And I can just focus on everything I love. Mortgage Choice was the right fit for me at that time, and still is, obviously. Right, where they were able to provide me with the compliance management, the handling of the marketing, the branding, and all this type of stuff, which then allowed me to just say, focus on the client.
Yeah. So it was actually Smartline at the time, right? When
Correct.
you first joined, and then obviously now it's Mortgage Choice.
Yes.
Did you start off then with a franchise? Did you have your own office, like a sort of place where people could walk into, or were you working from home?
Great question. The really cool thing about Smartline and also Mortgage Choice do the same thing is we're provided like an office to work out of. Yeah. So I always had a place that was outside from home that I could go to that had the the internet connection, the printer, the electricity, the this, the that. And also the best thing about it is when you first become a broker, if you decide to work from home, it is a lonely place to be. You also don't have a level of pace setting because you must be self-motivated, intentional with every single bit of your time when you first become a broker. Being in a space where you can essentially stand up and say, hey guys, what do I do with this circumstance? And then have an answer because you now have the ability to touch 30 different bank policies as opposed to just one is one of the most powerful things you can have. So really, really cool. To answer your question in short, I was able to work out of a state office, have all the bells and whistles, and have none of the cost.
Yeah. And that's, I think, one of the interesting things about Mortgage Choice as a brand, because most people just assume it's a franchise and that you have to buy a franchise and you have to have a shop. But they do have, as you said, this kind of like offices in the different states where you can go and work and hang out with other Mortgage Choice brokers, even though you're in different businesses.
Correct.
So we've talked about like how you kind of got into broking, but what sort of loans were you writing to begin with, and what kind of loans do you write now?
Cool. Great question. First home buyer loans were the most abundant. And obviously that's because of the first home guarantee scheme and currently still running, right? I naturally transitioned towards investor loans though. So first home buyers, it's mainly because the market was so abundant, right? Like if you have if everyone only needs 5%, you don't need to do this, you don't need to do that. The bars dropped, population increased, demand is high. So that was a inevitable thing for first home buyers to be the biggest part of, the largest percentage of every broker's applications. But naturally, I'm a investor focused brokerage or broker myself. Like I live, breathe, eat what I do, right? So I now focus very, very specifically and I niche investing.
Yeah. And I think the other thing that's really interesting is obviously when you were first coming into the market as a broker, it was in like 2019. So you went through COVID. So you had this whole rush of people coming into market. As you said there, like a lot of the first home buyers, lots of people looking at investing as well, maybe looking into state and kind of being like, well, I want to take advantage of these super low rates. And now I think we've seen almost record levels of investor lending going on, investor lending, investor refinancing. Is there any particular type of investor you're really looking at? Do they have to be Brisbane-based, for example? Do they have to be, I'm assuming you're going to say they have to have 25 properties and a massive portfolio. That'd be great. But is there any particular like area of investing that you're really focused on?
The way I live my life and the way I design my business, Annie, is very much specifically around where my heart is, okay? Not to get all soft and mushy here.
Oh, I don't mind.
So, and where I go on from that is where I really, really enjoy helping people is the first to second or third time investor, right? So, they have their own occupied or they may not have an owner occupied, but they've saved so much. I like to apply my ability of foresight, reverse engineer applications, and my mind I get a bit of a feeling out of that, right? Because a lot of people say to me, it's very difficult to get to one property, and I have consistently broken ceilings where we have gone belief one property up to 6, right? Reverse engineered it and put it in place. So I really like the everyday mum and dad that I'm able to genuinely provide I like to figuratively open a door in their mind or break a ceiling.
Yeah.
So that's the part that
And I think that's so interesting. Like a lot of what brokers do is kind of providing that financial literacy education of being like, you might think that you haven't got enough saved for a deposit, but did you know you can get into the market using this scheme? Or did you know that you can access this? Or maybe if you restructure some things, you can do this. And actually having that kind of conversation and education to then open their minds to what's possible and put them in a much better, situation for the long run. And I think the other thing that I love about brokers is that you're a partner for life for a lot of people. You're kind of their one broker. They might send their kids to you as well.
Yeah.
But the other thing that we're talking a lot about at the moment is being like, well, are there any loans that you don't do? Like, is there any time, any occasions where you're like, I actually can't help you with that? And if so, what are they?
Good brokers turn away loans all the time, right? Like, where do I start with this? This is a very interesting question, Annie, because I've been turning away loans for a very long time. And I turn away loans on many different facets, right? Number one is if it just doesn't work, yeah, and then the client's just, asking us to, potentially breach a boundary that I'm not willing to breach, yeah, because there's no point. Why would I do one thing that jeopardizes my entire career, my integrity, yeah? We turn away loans. I turn away loans on that. But the main reason why I would turn away loans, and the most common one that I actually do, is if the person I am working with doesn't align with my values or boundaries and they don't understand, or they're very highly demanding outside of normal business hours, I would say to them like, look, I don't think I'm the broker for you. Here's your solution. This is what I would do, but I'm unable to service you, right? And the reason why I do that, right, is for brokers, when they first start becoming brokers, you want to do everything. You need to do everything. You don't have a choice, right? However, there is a time when you have to set up clear boundaries, or else you are in a position where you are constantly abandoning yourself to do the things that you need to do just to speak to a client. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So I guess you're kind of saying, like, as you get more experience and you're not needing new business all the time. You want to focus down on the business you do want because you only have a certain amount of capacity.
Correct. But then also when you focus on the business that you do want, or the character in which you wish to, the person in which you wish to serve, it then means as a byproduct of doing that on a consistent basis, you then build a business specifically around how you wish to enjoy your life. Yeah. So you're not doing something where you're like, oh my gosh, I have to speak to this person and this person is very difficult to deal with. I don't think about that. I actually go, oh my gosh, I get to call this person and I get to catch up with them, because the way I built my business is, I believe there's 4 levels of relationships, right? So relationship 1 is an acquaintance, 2, transactional business, 3, friendship, 4, romantic. Yeah. I work in the friendship range. Yeah. So I have built my business around being able to serve my friends, add value to their lives, solve their problems. So, and then I get paid for it and it doesn't affect them. Like, it's the best way to be.
Yeah. That's interesting. The other thing I'm kind of curious about as well is a lot of brokers who are saying, since Best Interest came in 2021,
yes,
I think, when Best Interest came in, having to turn away business because being like, it's not in your best interest to take out this loan. Whereas previously, maybe brokers would have written the loan anyway and been like, we've told them all the risks, but they want to press ahead anyway. Whereas now it's like, I can't write this loan because it's not in your best interest and I don't want to be breaching my bid requirements. Have you ever had to use that? Have you ever had to say to someone, I can't do it because it's not in your best interest?
Yeah. That is a common occurrence as well, for sure.
Yeah.
And the way you actually, like, I'm a very straight shooter. Yeah. I'm a very direct person. I'm very transparent. If I say I won't do something, I just won't do something. And usually people just respect that. Yeah. So is your question asking what happens?
Yeah.
When
What
we do?
happens next?
Yeah. What happens? Well, usually the person will just find another broker that's willing to do it, right? Or find a banker, because the bankers don't have to worry about best interest. It's just there. You can go and speak to a banker and they will do what you need to do.
Yeah. When you think about then the sort of things that you're doing at the moment for actually writing a loan and getting a new business, I mean, you mentioned there about kind of finding people that you like and that you gel with that have the same sort of cultural fit, but also, of course, that are focused in on your niche area or predominantly focused in your niche area of property investment. Do you do anything to kind of attract these people? Like, how do you find your ideal client?
Yeah. Well, I use my social media. Yeah. And I use it quite lightly. I don't actually love social media. I consume it very seldom, and I use it, when I need to. To me, it is a tool.
Yeah.
However, this attraction of business or attraction of new client, I've integrated every part of my business within my life. As I kind of explained before, right? Like how I've designed the business around working with friends and so on and so forth. Yeah. I've integrated finding business in that way too. So I'm a creature of habit. I wake up early in the morning, I do my morning routine, and then I go to train in the gym. The way I found my business is I actually go to the same gym or to the same cafe or to the same XYZ, and I go there to the point where I become friends with people. And when they ask me what I do, I tell them what I do. And I just continuously add value and share with them my knowledge. And I don't ever ask for their business. I don't say, hey, maybe I should do your loan. I just go, this is some information. You can do whatever you want with it. Go see whoever you want, right? Usually what happens is after a period of time, and some people will go see who they want, and they may find that they're unhappy with what they've heard, and they'll come and speak to me. And when they do speak to me, they already know that I'm just here to help them, right? So in other words, yeah, I find these type of clients by talking about it in my life and talking about it in a very passionate way, which I only know one way to speak, right? So I attract them by just being me and integrating it in my life, living, breathing, eating it.
Yeah. We're going to take a quick break here, Dan. When we come back, I'd like to talk to you about how you actually write the loans, what kind of volumes you're writing, how you manage to get through them all, what tools and tech you're writing, if any, and what sort of things you're doing to make sure you're getting through a high workload efficiently. And we'll get into that just after this message. So, Dan, walk me through the types, like the volume of loans that you're writing at the moment. Like, how many loans do you reckon you settle a year?
I don't reckon anything, Annie. I know at the moment it is written. So on a 12-month rolling average, the most recent stats that I have looked at is about 290 loans written.
And are you the sole broker?
I am the sole and only broker.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a lot of business to get through in a year. That's
is.
like, one every couple of days, pretty much. Actually, more than that. Particularly if you're not working weekends, that's a lot of loans you're writing. How do you manage to get through that much work?
You just do. But in other words, that'd be a very silly answer.
Let me re-ask the question. How do you get through? How do you get through that much work? Do you have a team behind you? Do you use any tool technology to help you with the loan writing?
Yes, so I do have a team behind me. I'm not a one-man band, right? That would be ridiculous. You could not get through that much volume. I have a team behind me, which I have 2 credit analysts, 2 junior credit analysts, and then 3 people that sit in a settlements team.
Yeah, wow. So it's quite a big team.
It is.
And are they all employed by you? Are they employed like a centralized area? Are they offshore?
So the 2 credit analysts, yes, they're employed by me. And then other than that, they're all offshore.
Offshore, okay. So how did you decide that this is the structure you needed for your team to get through the work? Like, were you kind of just writing loans to begin with and were like, I need some help, and you brought on one person at a time? Did you set out from the beginning with like, this is what I need my team to look like? I wonder how you actually decide what your team structure is.
Yeah. So this is really good, right? So I'm very much I don't try and figure everything out. I think if you try and figure everything out, you'll find that you spend a lot of your time wasted. Yeah. The way I actually came to this is when I first started brokering, obviously there were so many things happening. Interest rates were super low, right? And we were still trying to transition through from the old school, paper application all the way through to electronic signing. There was no DocuSign. There has never been an easier time to be a broker, by the way, Annie. Okay. I transitioned. I actually hired my first person 6 months into my business. Okay. And where I went was offshore, because that was what I needed to do at that time. I didn't have enough revenue and so on and so forth to actually live, pay for everything, and also be able to hire someone. So I went offshore. And what I found was offshore was great. You just had to, obviously at the beginning, provide them with enough clarity and context about what you need done. And then you empower them. Yeah. As I started to grow or get faster have more loans to actually write or more people to serve, I then had to obviously bring on a secondary person. So I went offshore again, right? I thought to myself, what better way to go to grow is to go offshore, because now if I get another offshore, I don't even have to train them. I can get my offshore to train my offshore, right? And then that happened, right? So I find that, and at the same time, the cost was effective it was efficient for the business, and it allowed me to have someone else train and I get to focus on what I really love, right? Which is speaking to the clients, and I get the parts that I don't like being done by someone else.
Yeah. And someone who is following system and is doing it really well. Did you use an offshore provider to do that? Did you go through an aggregator to find help? Like, how did you actually find these people?
Yeah, I actually, so part of Smartline or Mortgage Choice, right? There are approved people that we have to go through and that we do go through. And that's mainly due to, your IT security, the privacy. Yeah. So I just think this is the best thing about being the franchise as well. You can just ask a question and the answers come back very specifically about what you need to do.
Yeah.
So
how long was it before you brought someone onshore, a team member here in Australia with you?
I'd say it would have been 2 years in. 2 years.
And why bring someone in to work in the business with you domestically?
Well, I was hoping to bring someone in so that I could upskill them or have another broker in, because after a while, what you do find is you are the bottleneck to your business. Yeah. Yeah. So I brought someone in mainly to hopefully have them sit next to me as a broker. I haven't been able to find anyone successful to sit there yet. I have tried many times. And this is probably something that you would hear quite often, is like when you build a business around yourself and then you bring someone else in, like if they're experienced, they may have some bad habits. And if they're not experienced, you have to go through the process of, upskilling them and training them and getting them to the position where they're confident enough to actually sit as a broker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you haven't found your Goldilocks broker yet?
Not yet, but I have 2 people that are upskilling towards that position. So that'll be soon.
So what do they do?
So they're what we call credit analysts, right? So other people may call them para brokers. Yeah. So they know policy, specific policy. They know very a lot about being a broker, but they're yet to actually get the certification or to officially become one. Yeah. So
a lot of the time in your business, let's say someone finds you, they're like, hey, Dan, I want to buy my second investment property. What happens next? So I'm guessing you do the first meeting, or is someone else doing that from the team?
This is a really interesting one, because I'm a big breakdown process, rebuild process, right? And I've just broken my process again after breaking it just not long ago, which is my team hates me. When one of my existing clients or anyone books in, they book in with me. However, before they speak to me, the credit analyst, so either Lachlan or Sam, will actually contact them before they actually get to me, and they do document gathering. They essentially pre-qualify. Yeah. They pre-qualify, ask the right questions, and ensure that whatever documentation we may need is in the client's folder or in the file, ready for me as soon as I pick it up.
Yeah.
So I get to focus on the part that I like, which is 100% strategy and delivering and adding value.
Yeah. And you're not having to be like, did you bring your passport?
Correct.
Yeah.
No, I don't. Yeah.
And I think that also cuts a lot of time. Like when you think about having run a bigger business, when you've been in for a few years and you've got hundreds of loans to get through, you don't really have the time to do that, spend time doing that, to do the data collection yourself. So kind of having it ready to go or pre-qualified, so when you sit down, you already know a little bit about that position. You kind of maybe have thought a couple of things about what you're going to be doing. Then you're really just like getting to know them, I suppose, seeing if they're a cultural fit, and then ensuring that whatever you've got in mind works with what they want to do.
Correct. Yeah.
So how else do you get to know your client? This is a big question at the moment. The KYC, know your client sort of things. Is there any like questions you are like, I really want to know this or get this answered before I progress?
That really depends on the client, Annie. Yeah. So because everyone sits in a different position, right? So my main thing is like to understand who they are, what they're trying to achieve, not just through finance and not through just, the financial position, but like who they are. What do you want to do later? What does retirement actually look like for you? Does it look like I'm taking 2 holidays a year? Does it look like I don't have any sort of, there's no issues in, my income is X figure? What does your lifestyle actually look like? And what do you truly highly value? Because what I really love is adding value to people, right? It's not adding value in giving loans. I don't sell loans. I sell a blueprint to wealth. I give them a blueprint and then I reverse engineer that. And what I mean by a blueprint to wealth is I actually align myself with their accountants and their financial planners and, reverse engineer that structure with the right professionals.
And looking at, referral partners, a lot of new brokers when they start out are like, oh, how on earth do I form referral partnerships? Everyone already has a broker that they use. And I want to make sure that I've got business coming in from other people, but don't know how to secure a referral partner. How did you go about it?
So when you first start being a broker, please understand that you are going to be approached by many people to become a referral partner, because there are a lot of buyer's agents out there. There are a lot of real estate agents. There are a lot of solicitors, lawyers, so on. Like there's a bunch of people, right? My suggestion would be to find someone that is aligned with you in character. It's very important you find someone aligned with you in character, and then just work with one person. Create a genuine friendship with them, because if you are working off finding a business partner or finding someone to work with and referring your clients over, but also receiving clients as well, you want to make sure that their character and the quality of service that they're providing is aligned with yours. You also want to find someone that is essentially similar to where you're starting out. Yeah, so similar to your same position. You don't want to find someone that's seasoned, that's looking to get out to be a referral partner, because they will look for someone else that is much more seasoned, right?
Yeah. And also they'll only be a referral partner for a couple of years if they're looking to get out. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. So I've had the same referral partners or same business partners, actually same friendships for the last 4 or 5 years. And my business is about 6 years old.
Yeah. And when you think about any like tools and technology, I know that Mortgage Choice has been doing a lot of work in artificial intelligence and providing Gemini gems to brokers. Are you using any AI yet? Are you using any of that? Or are you kind of still doing, this is my process and this is what I'm using?
No, so yeah, I do integrate everything that Mortgage Choice provides. Yeah, those are Gemini gems, those AIs are really, really cool. I think they're great if you're a new broker and you just need answers of, how to calculate this income, right? Or how to, the compliance part of it, because they're really big parts, and they're usually parts that most people don't really focus on, which is, a compliance AI gem. Like, so you're telling me that instead of now me learning one of the most important parts of longevity of sustaining my business can now just be done very quickly through this one tool. Yeah. The income confirmation thing, amazing, because guess what? My junior credit analysts, which are overseas, by the way, they now have the ability to calculate income, but then cross-reference it with a gem, which then tells them the full breakdown. So now I have something that actually educates and teaches my team without me having to educate and teach my team.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, it's they're great tools. And I would say to any broker or anyone in any industry right now, if you are not integrating and finding a use for AI in your business, you will be left behind. Yeah.
I think that was one of the core messages we had at Better Business Summit this year, was being like, this is what people are doing already. People are already using it. Obviously, aggregators rolling out a lot of tech. If you're not already using it, you're going to be slower than everyone else.
100%.
So making sure people are aware of it, but obviously using it in the right way and with the permission of their aggregators. Do you use any other sort of software or tools or technology like in your life or in broking to make your life easier?
In my life, I use AI, yeah. Whether I can use it in brokering yet is a different question, mainly because of the privacy security issue, right? Like that's the utmost important because I wouldn't want my information breached all over the world or the internet, right? So in my life, I definitely do. But in talking about brokering, like, using Quickly, using Follow, that's a really, really cool thing that Mortgage Choice provides. Like it uses open banking. Like it's the coolest thing. You send it off. It takes 2 minutes. They click on it. It gets you the statements, right? But it also gets you the running balance for the next 3 months. And then you also, when we were able to import the data and it shows the interest rate, the term of the loan, the this, that, like every single bit of information that we require to submit a quality application is provided like that.
Yeah. You're not having to call up the lender and be like, what rate are they on?
No, it's all there, which is amazing. It tells you the type of the loan, fixed, variable, this, that, so on and so forth. I know, look, because it does that, I no longer have to ask someone all these very intricate questions, because all I have to do is like, please click this button. As it goes through, it just generates and it's right there. So I just ask the basic question is, what do you owe on your home loan? What bank is it with? And I just confirm and cross-reference that.
Yeah. And do you find because I think I'm always quite surprised that open banking hasn't really taken off that quickly. I mean, obviously from brokers, everyone's like, please use it because it makes our life so much easier and we have all the information at hand. And plus it's verified. But for a lot of consumers, they're still either not really sure what it is or maybe they're feeling a bit wary about using it. How do you have that conversation with a client to like describe why they should let you as a trusted advisor have access?
I just say to them, like, I actually just propose it. Most of the time, I don't get much pushback these days.
Okay.
If I just say, hey, this used to take 40 minutes. However, this over here is open banking. Please look at it, do some research on it about yourself. But what it does, it is specifically designed for exactly what we're doing right now, which means that all you have to do is invest 2 minutes of your day and it's done. Right. So I mainly propose it in a way in which it is designed specifically for what we're doing. And also the time, energy, effort that you must, provide to this goes from an hour or 40 minutes or whatever it is, downloading everything manually to literally 2 minutes, and it's safe. Yeah. It's encrypted, right? It's actually safer to do it that way than it is to download all your statements and then send it by email, because emails get intercepted.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just tell them.
Don't even have to sell it.
No.
When you then look at the sort of things that investors are talking to you about now, and as I sort of mentioned this earlier, but like property investment just going crazy at the moment. So many investors in market, whether that's through their SMSF or just generally, like people really looking at investing in property in Australia. Are you seeing any like particular trends in like where people are investing or what they're wanting to buy?
That's a really cool question. Am I seeing a trend in where they're looking at buying or what they're looking at buying? To be honest with you, Annie, it is very specific to the client about what they're buying. But if I'm being honest, what I can see is that borrowing capacity is really the limiting factor in what people can buy or want to buy. So the decision is made, like they're with professionals that can advise them on property anyway, right? We have access to property reports that we can provide to the clients anyway. So the question in which that lies is, I have seen more people use trust type structures and non-personal entities, right? I have seen a trend that it went really, really big and then it kind of dropped off a bit. And I don't know if I'm able to mention it. It's the whole Macquarie Bank pulling out and then all these other banks are kind of just, yeah.
So you've seen fewer people being able to get trust loans because fewer lenders were offering them?
Well, I see fewer. Well, look, it hasn't changed anything in my life, right? I still work with non-personal entities. Yeah, it's because I've done it myself. I literally, when I say live, breathe, eat, I mean I literally live, breathe, eat. I am a living embodiment of what I actually provide to a client and add value with. So the trend in what they're buying, though, is very much dependent on what they can afford at this moment. Yeah. It's a borrowing capacity issue because property prices are growing at a rate in which I would say is insane.
Yeah. And especially in Brisbane, like with us
SEQ.
running up to the Olympics, everyone's trying to buy property, trying to buy an apartment, trying to get in there, maybe buy a commercial property. Are you seeing a lot of demand for commercial investment?
Commercial is an interesting one because it comes up and down, right? So I mainly focus on residential but it's a transition, right? So there's an actual plan in place. So depending on the client, it's mainly to buffer their position up with residential because it is the most consistent and safest and does not have any aggressive ups or downs, right? Because consistency is safety and I want my clients to be safe, yeah? So when my clients get to a certain number of investment properties, and I'd say that's closer to about an 8 to a 10, that's when it transitions over to commercial.
Yeah.
But even then, now commercial properties, depending on what you're after, like commercial is very different from resi. Like, you look at resi, you got your townhouse, you got your house, you got units, but then there's dual living, right? But in commercial, the type of the asset, the store, retail storefront, warehouse, this, that, so on and so forth. There's so many different specific commercial properties.
Yeah.
I would say the hottest one at the moment is warehousing. I'm doing a lot of like warehouse type stuff.
That's it. We're going to take a quick break here, Dan. When we come back, I'd like to talk to you about what's next for you and for your brokerage, where you want to grow in the future, your sort of things that you're doing to really embed yourself in the community, and your advice for new brokers as well. So, Dan, you were talking there about, having the idea of maybe training up some people to eventually be brokers alongside you. Is that the end goal? Is that you have multiple brokers in your brokerage?
The end goal? No. The end goal is really so that I just want to work a little bit less, Yeah.
I want to have a holiday.
Yeah. Being a broker, transitioning from banker to broker, the one thing that I've realized was I literally built a business around myself. And I think moving into a position where I can have, 2 brokers there. I don't want a big brokerage. I'm not after volume. I'm after quality of impact to the person, okay? Because the only reason why I'm still doing this and really enjoying it is because of the quality of impact, right? So I want to build a team that niches a very specific type of service that provides it at the most highest and most exceptional level and is connected specifically with those clients. I want to build long-term relationships. I'm not after, hey, my rate is 0, can I get a 0.1% discount? Can I go over here and refinance for a cashback? Can I do this? I want to provide genuine long-term impact.
Yeah.
So to do that, I'm not after a massive team. I don't want to systemize and template specific things. I want to work with people that I'm able to train up that think like me, and ensure that they govern themselves in relation to not even just best interest, which we all follow, but like really know how to speak to a client and see what they're after.
Yeah. And do you have any like goals for this year? I mean, we're already almost halfway through. I can't believe that. But like, April's finished, May's coming up. Like,
it's crazy.
What are you kind of planning for the rest of the year?
Personally or business? Oh, obviously.
Business.
Through business.
I think personal too, but like firstly with business.
Yeah. I would say what I'm after, if we're talking numbers wise, I would love to be able to be a single broker that reaches say $200 million in settlements, which we're kind of on track for.
Oh, it's pretty exciting.
Yeah. Because I remember when we first starting brokering, right? The biggest number that every single broker was kind of looking at was the $100 million mark.
Yeah.
Right, especially in Queensland, especially in I'm not in Sydney. I don't. I speak to some of my Sydney broker mates, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I'm just doing a $4 or $5 million purchase." I'm like, $4 or $5 million is very difficult to find in Queensland, right? So it was the $100 million mark type for business wise. I wanted to double that, right? That was something that I kind of thought, oh, it'd be great if that was possible. So this year it looks like it is. So yeah.
Well,
that's
best
where
of
I'm at.
luck. We look forward to you hitting that milestone. Obviously, the big things that will impact that will be what's happening in the economy, what's happening in the market, what's happening with interest rates. We've got the budget coming up, so there might be some changes there for housing.
Absolutely.
Is there anything that you kind of think would be really amazing to happen to help make your life easier as a broker? Like, is there any changes you'd like to see to make broking better?
Annie, I don't have any bugbears. I don't think that anyone really should. Like, if things change, I just adapt. Right? I'm a very adaptable person. Okay. And by the way, I mentioned to you just before, there has been no better time and easier time for people to start brokering. You know, when I first started like lending, I used to have a physical printed policy document. If I needed to know what policy was, I had to go, oh, yeah, it's on page 25, halfway down the page. It's policy 3.1.3111, right? Or something like that. You now get to literally click a button and policy is right there. You get to do borrowing capacity calculators off entering it in one place and it spits it out like for 30 different banks. You now get to click a button, send it over, and 2 minutes later, the entire, like you have all the data you require to deliver a comprehensive and compliant submission to the bank. I don't think there should be any bugbears. Like, I don't know, like I see life in a very positive way. And every one of these tools that is being created, like the AI compliance tool, the income calculation tool, I don't know how. The only way for it to be easy is if it kind of replicates me, and then all of a sudden I'm an AI.
Yeah,
like, that'd be great, I guess.
Well, I mean, that's a positive way. There's nothing that can be fixed. You're happy.
Yeah.
When you think then about the highlights of your career so far as a broker, what have been the best bits? Have there been any like achievements or milestones that you're like really proud of?
The best bit about being a broker, achievements, milestones. Look, I think this is very specific to myself, right? So what I deem as a milestone, or what I deem as amazing, or in my career, is, I guess, the way I built my business, right? I mentioned to you before, I try to build my relationships as friendships, right? I've been doing that consistently for long enough, and also turning away people that I turn away, so businesses that I don't do, to the point now where the highlight of my brokering is that I have built a business that I get to talk to my friends, add value to their position, and on top of that, I get to see a transition process and from where they were to where they are, and I get to speak to them and we get to celebrate together. Because you can't go around publicly and go, you know what, I'm going to tell everyone that, oh my gosh, I got my 7th investment property. And not only that, I've created passive income. My wealth has gone to X, Y, Z. And created like this little team of people where there's a financial advisor that's friends with your broker, and then there's an accountant, and then we're all like speaking, and they have like, you know, it's just the most exciting thing, because you get to literally see where someone was to where they are now. And it was all because you just had a specific conversation and you built a genuine relationship.
Yeah.
So
love that. When you think then about what you kind of do to outside of work, so, you know, maybe to unwind and de-stress after a hard day, you mentioned earlier about going to the gym. Is there anything else that you do outside to kind of get into a good mindset, to stay positive, to maybe shake off some stress?
Yeah. So I quickly found out within the first 2 years of me running the business that I needed to do something, because brokering, like I said, although I love the fast pace, I have a morning routine, and that is I wake up at approximately 4 a.m. every single day. I go down into my cold bath. I sit in a sauna. I meditate within the sauna. Then I go and train at the gym. The reason why I get up early at 4 a.m. is because it actually creates space in the start of my day. By creating space, I get to slow down my mind. By slowing down my mind, I am then able to control the level of, I guess, my nervous system, right? Because I could wake up thinking about all the things I have to do, or I could choose to wake up and not think about all the things, enjoy my time, and just go through my morning routine and then go to the gym. So I believe in building a healthy habit in slowing down your day, because what you perceive it to be. If you wake up and you say to yourself, oh my gosh, I'm behind, I promise you, your entire day, you are feeling like you're behind. Yeah. So cold bath, sauna, meditate, gym. That's how I manage my very fast-paced days. However, the secondary thing to that is I have figured out my most optimal cycle. What I mean by optimal cycle is that when you're PAYG and working in a bank, you have X annual leave, right? When you're a broker, you would work longer days and you may work weekends as well at the beginning. So what you have to actually find is, well, where are you, when you do that, how quickly do you start to get to the point where your solutions aren't as sharp, where your mind is overthinking things, where you're anxious, where you're waking up and your day is always very chaotic? I figured out that every approximate 8 to 10 weeks, I need to take a week away, yeah, with my wife. And we just go somewhere, interstate, and I just eat some yummy food and I have lots of naps and I reset my position and I come back and I'm back to normal.
Yeah. Every 8 to 10 weeks. That firstly sounds expensive, but also how lovely.
Yeah.
I need a holiday. Just thinking about that, I was like, I would love a holiday at the moment. Well, Dan, thanks so much for sharing your advice and some really great tips there, I think, for brokers looking to build their business. If you, though, could give them maybe 3 points of advice or something that you wish you'd known when you started, what advice would you give to new brokers just starting out?
The advice I'd provide to new brokers starting out, I would say, well, depending on where they're starting from, if it's a banker to a broker, I can use myself as an example, is the biggest problem you will face is obscurity. Just get your name out there, shake as many hands as possible, create as many actions that can create reactions for you. Don't overthink it. Refining your process and empowering the people in your team is very important. Yeah. Those would be the main things. So obscurity, to get over it, do as many actions that create reactions as possible. Focus on refining your process. Always be okay with breaking down and rebuilding your process, and empowering your team will allow them to feel a sense of responsibility, and also allow you to actually surrender parts of your business and have someone else manage that part and be proud to manage it.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Daniel Liao for Mortgage Choice South Brisbane, thank you so much for joining me here on Elite Broker and sharing your story.
Thank you so much, Annie.
If you've got any questions for me or for Dan, then do feel free to reach out. You can reach me at editor@theadvisor.com.au, and of course, Dan Liao at Mortgage Choice if you want to find out more about what he's doing and how he's building his team. And of course, take a listen back to previous episodes on the Advisor Podcast Network for other stories with Australia's leading brokers, Australia's new brokers, women in finance. We've got lender interviews. We've got our headlines, What's Making Headlines podcast as well. We talk about the news we're writing about. So much great content on there for you. And if you've got any topics or questions that you'd like covering in the podcast, do feel free to let me know as well. As I mentioned, the email editor@theadvisor.com.au. We hope you have a fab week, and we'll catch you next time for another episode on the Advisor Podcast Network.